Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. It is delightful for me to be here on this Dave's Gone By episode. I, of course, am Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am delighted to be talking to a fellow and former-ish Long Islander. He is a composer. He is a musician. Let me tell you a little bit about this Jewish man that we are looking at on the screen right now. He co-wrote a hit song called She's Like the Wind. Ooh, ooh, windy, with his friend, his late friend Patrick Swayze, for a little movie you may have heard of called Dirty Dancing, but he's done so much more than that. He's written scores for scores of TV movies and movies, Pocahontas 2, 500 Days of Summer, and of course, how could we forget, She Woke Up Pregnant, which, let's face it, is most of the women I've ever dated. Ladies and gentlemen, he's also a photographer now, and we are delighted and excited that we even see like the not really gold records, like gold CDs behind him. Won't you please welcome to the neighborhood our new friend, Stacy Widelitz. Shalom, Stacy.
Well, it's Widelitz, actually, just so you know.
Oh dear, oi, 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 I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. Why?
Oh, that's all right. It happens all the time.
Yeah, because it doesn't, you wouldn't figure it would be pronounced like that. It's, but I guess it's closer to Simon than Itzkowitz, as it would be.
Yeah, there are two branches of my family. There's Widlitzes, which have no E, and there's Widelitzes, which do have an E. Mm-hmm. And but we're all related. Anybody that has the last name Widlitz or Widelitz or Wiedelitz are related. It all goes back to one man in Poland in the early 1700s.
Do you know that man? Did you have records of him or on your family tree? Yeah.
There's a member of my family, he's like my third cousin up in Canada, who did a complete genealogy because he got interested in a recessive gene in our family that carries a blood disorder called beta thalassemia. And as a result of researching this, he brought the family all the way back to, I think his name was Herschel or Herzl Wiedelitz in Ostrów, Poland. So in like 1720. So it's amazing.
But what does this beta carotene thing do to your body? What kind of disease is it there?
It's almost like a sickle cell anemia. Fortunately, I don't have it, but there are parts of the family that carry the gene.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing you were Poland, because if you were in Russia, it would be hammer and sickle cell anemia.
That's right, exactly.
I do comedy. This is what I do. I'm Rabbi Sol. This is Stacy Wide-litz. By the way, what is your Hebrew name?
Simcha.
Simcha. Oh, I love it. Simcha means happy. Are you a happy person in general?
No, I'm actually fairly morose. No,
you are Jewish, yes.
Yeah, I was born on the second night of Passover. And so I was named Simcha with taking the initial from a relative. And of course, my father's joke from that point on was, I took one look and I passed over. So, because my father did comedy also.
But I guess your dad knew how to use a shank bone. Let me tell you. So you grew up on Long Island. How was it? Did you like it? Was it Plainview? Where were you raised? You were in
Plainview, in most of the time in Plainview, near the Suffolk County border, and I enjoyed it. It first off, the school system at that time was incredible. You know, it was public school. I think I learned how to write more about basic writing skills in high school than I did in college, and also the access to New York City was fantastic. And my parents were both very artistically inclined. So they took my brother and me to, as soon as we were, old enough, to Broadway shows, to the museums, to great restaurants.
Right now, what's the first Broadway show that you remember going to?
Oh, it blew my mind, made such a huge impression. It was the original Broadway cast of Man of La Mancha, which is actually
who was in there at that point? Was it Joan Diener, Richard Kiley, and all those?
Richard Kiley, Joan Denier, and it was unbelievable. I mean, because it's so funny at times and sad, and There's a sexual assault scene. There's
Oh, I
all
love
this
that
stuff.
one. Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of all the sexual assault scenes on Broadway, that one is. I'm telling you. Yeah.
But I mean, it's such a powerful piece. And I remember, at that point, I was playing piano for a couple of years, and I remember walking out of the theater and thinking about it, and then listening to the soundtrack album. And I think it set the germ in my head of maybe this is what I want to do, is actually write music or be in music.
So there's also a difference of being, sing us a song, you're the piano man, versus becoming a composer. When did you realize I have a facility, I'm going to start writing songs or even classical-ish musical compositions?
Well, I was always able to make stuff up, and which I think is the when you're a composer or songwriter, there's something ineffable that can't be taught, which is the actual ability to write a melody or a chord pattern or something. You can gain technical skills to learn how to use those elements better, but you either have the ability to write music or you don't. Right. And what happened was in the summer between high school and my first year of college, I had saved up enough money, and my father pitched in for it as well, to get my first synthesizer. And then I got a TIAC 4-track, and I started making compositions. I was listening to a lot of electronic music, very, very blown away by the score of Clockwork Orange, synthesized Wendy Carlos, then Walter Carlos became Wendy Carlos. And
wait, what? I don't remember. He had the operation?
Yeah, oh, Walter Carlos became Wendy Carlos. And actually, during the making of Clockwork Orange, she was going through the transition period.
Wow, it's more like orange were cock. No, I blew that joke. All right, sorry. Continue.
Right. Obviously, we're not, on, public radio, but
more like pubic radio now. But okay, continue.
So anyway, so I started doing these, little compositions with sound on sound, and I got introduced to a little recording studio in Connecticut in my sophomore year of college. And I played some of the stuff for the engineer, which he liked. And plus I was hired to write some music for a project. They were an educational project. And I did that, and they liked that. And it just kind of snowballed from there that they started hiring me to write these scores for, I'm dating myself, but film strips, where it was frame and frame and frame with a pre-recorded soundtrack, a narration. And the first group of film strips that they hired me for was actually quite a thrill, because there were 5 stories by Ray Bradbury, who was one of my favorite writers, and they were narrated by Ray Bradbury.
That's pretty.
So I got to work with his voice, and he had this very plaintive quality to his voice. And I remember they had me do a demo to see if I would get the series. And it was one of his stories called The Foghorn, which is an incredibly sad story about a foghorn whose horn sounds like the mating call of an ancient sea dinosaur. And there's only one of those dinosaurs left, and it's drawn to the foghorn.
Oh dear.
Thinking that it's found its mate. And when it sees that it's not its mate, it actually destroys the lighthouse and the foghorn. But it's just such a great story. So I did this thing kind of with rolling waves and all this. And the engineer and producer, evidently listened to it and liked it. And they hired me to do 5 of their stories. That turned into me doing probably 150 of those film strips over a period of.
Now, do you have copies of that? Do you have the audio of them? Or are they gone? Or they just, where are they?
It's interesting, because this company was based in Connecticut. There's a library in Connecticut that has a lot of this stuff. I believe in Norwalk, Connecticut.
How would you show it? Would you need a slide projector and a
it was a special machine.
Oh wow!
That, the a roll of film went into it and a cassette with a soundtrack, and there was a a very low audio tone that would change the frame in sync with the audio cassette.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, kind of state of the art for the time.
Let me ask also about composing music for things like that, as well as you later composed for TV movies and things like where it isn't so much about quote unquote melody, right? It's more about sustaining a mood. I mean, how do you jive with, like, you like songs, you like music, you like the songs in Dirty Dancing, but now you're really just sort of like, okay, there's someone behind that door, creepy, creepy, creepy.
Right.
Is it different, or is it the same?
It varies. Sometimes it's just setting the mood. It can be as simple as a high string or something low, because I did a lot of suspense. So I was kind of an expert at that. And, but other times it's melodic also. There's a parallel to opera where in opera you hear one of those great arias, and then it recurs throughout the opera for emotional effect. It's calling that moment back. Or sometimes you even hear the melody before the big aria is sung. So it all ties together and creates this character arc that carries you through. So melody, to me, was very important a lot of times in my scoring work, because the melody created the emotional effect. Like I did a documentary for ABC World of Discovery on the plight of the black rhinoceros, called the Last Charge of the Rhino, which I called the Last Charge of the Wino. But it was, they said, we want grandeur because it's the African savanna.
Right, yeah.
But we also want this melancholy quality because these animals are endangered. And I felt that could only be achieved through melody. And actually, just when I was working, you start thinking, and this stewing process begins, and but you're under a tremendous deadline, so you've got to get working on it. And I remember I was living in Venice, California at the time, with the piano in the living room, and I was living with my then girlfriend, Karen. And I just sat down at the piano and I actually played. Sitting at my piano.
They wouldn't let the black rhinoceroses move into the white rhinoceros neighborhoods for many,
That's right.
It's very upsetting, yes.
It was the white rhinoceros were living in Levittown, so it was, but it was the melody that made the piece work, and then you bring that back for emotional effect throughout the whole hour-long show, and it unifies it.
Now, speaking of a unifying thing, you're certainly not hiding whatever it is behind your head. Now, are those gold records? Is that for what? What
specifically? Okay, those are platinum records, and that's this is specifically for the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. It represents 11 million records sold in the United States.
Wow!
Yeah.
So that movie gave you the time of your life. Let me tell you. Little joke. Now, you wrote. How much did you write for that particular movie? Was it the one song with Patrick Swayze, or more, or all the scoring, or what?
No, it was just the one song, and we didn't write it for Dirty Dancing. We wrote it 2 years prior to the movie, and we wrote it for a different movie, and it wasn't used in that film, fortunately. And Patrick and I were friends. We lived around the block from each other in LA, and had met in his acting class. And so it's not like we were teamed up to write the song or something, and they teamed the actor with the composer. No, he approached me saying, I've had this idea for a song for a while. I can't get anywhere with it. Do you want to work on it with me? And that's how we ended up writing it.
Now, when you first became friends, he was still just a young up-and-coming. He hadn't had success yet, right?
He'd had a certain degree of success. He had been in The Outsiders, the
Coppola film, right?
Yeah, Coppola film. He was in a television show called Renegades. He was in had made an impression. He was in a very good episode of MASH, where he played a young soldier in the hospital. And so he'd done something. And actually, when we met in his acting class, I said, you know, you look really familiar. And he said, have you seen The Outsiders? He mentioned a few things, none of which I'd seen. And which
when we
actually
mentioned MASH, you were like, oh, right?
Yeah, right. Well, no, that was later. You know, I saw that later. But then this blonde woman came over and he said, this is my wife, Lisa. And I said, okay, I got it. The two of you are always working on a black 240Z on La Jolla Avenue on the weekends. And they said, yeah, how do you know that? And I said, I live right around the block from you. I see you every weekend. So we were 2 houses away from each other.
Oh, so tell us something about youngish, already semi-famous, Patrick Swayze. Some stories, some happy memories of this man.
Well, he was a great guy. I mean, there's a reason we became friends right away. First off, there were the artistic interests. You know, he and his wife both came out of dance. They had met in his mother's dance class in Houston, Texas. And I had a background in dance, not as a dancer, thank God, but
that's so Jewish, yes.
Yeah, there's a great modern dance company in New York City that's been there for many years called the Jose Limon Dance Company.
Yeah.
And for 3 summers in my late teens into probably time I was 20 or so, I worked as an improv accompanist with them for about 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, which was a tremendous experience. So they were surprised to find, well, you know, we were talking and they said, well, yeah, I was with Elliot. Patrick said I was with the Elliott Feld Ballet. And I said, oh, I worked with the Jose Limon Dance Company. And they were like, what? So it's, there was a lot of commonality. And then also at that point, I was living with my then girlfriend, Wendy Fraser, who's a great singer who sings on She's Like the Wind. She's the female voice at the end of the song. So the 4 of us just started hanging out and became friends. But one of my, from that period of time, one of my favorite stories was he had been shooting a movie. I think it was Youngblood or some movie that he was shooting in Canada. And he was still living around the block, but by this point he had done the movie Red Dawn. And in that movie, they let him he was a tremendous horseman, you know, cowboy. And so they let him keep the horse that he rode in that film. And he had it up at a horse boarding place called the Glendale Equestrian Center, about maybe 30, 40-minute drive from where we were living. And at that time, also, he had bought a DeLorean, which is a really stupid car. And, you know, with the gull wings, the whole thing. And I was in bed, you know, Wendy's there, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and the phone rang. And I'm like, what? And I picked up the phone, and I knew Patrick as Buddy. All his friends and family called him Buddy. So he said, hi, it's Buddy. And I just flew in from the set, and, you know, I'm in a really weird mood, and I just want to see my horse. Will you come with me and see my horse? So I'm looking at the phone, and Wendy's, who is it? And I said, Buddy. And she said, what does he want? And he said, he wants me to go see his horse with him.
Did you?
And so
in his DeLorean?
So yeah, so I walked around. I said, okay, you know, I said, I think he really needs somebody to go with him. So we walked around the block, or I walked around the block, get in his DeLorean. We drive up to the equestrian center, and we walk into the big barn. He flips on the light, and it was like the movie Equus, with all these horses startled looking at us with the steam coming out of their noses and wondering who is just turned on the light. So he goes to his horse and he's hugging it and he's talking to it, you know, big animal person, also loved dogs. And
yeah.
And so, you know, we spend like 20 minutes there. So now it's, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And we go back to the car, and I could tell that it was possible that he had had something to drink on the airplane.
Oh, okay.
and maybe, also took something to help him sleep on the airplane, because I think he was flying all the way from Canada, I think. So he turned to me and he said, I don't think I should drive. I think you should drive us back home. And I looked at him and I said, I haven't driven a stick since high school. And so he looked at me and he said, I'll teach you. So at 2:00 in the morning, he's trying to teach me how to get into reverse in his DeLorean. And after about 6 screeching, I finally got the thing into reverse, got it into first gear, then second gear, and drove all the way home, which meant going down Laurel Canyon Boulevard, which goes like this, in second gear, driving like this, like terrified, because you're also like this low off the ground.
Oh, because it's yeah.
And so it was a hysterical.
In retrospect, moment. It wasn't funny then. It was hysterical, now.
In retrospect, yeah.
You realize it's one of those things while you were doing it, I will be telling this story in 20, 30 years. I will tell this story forever. Like, did you know, as it was happening, this is going to be a memory in my head forever?
Well, I have a good memory, so everything becomes a memory, and but it's interesting because after he died, a month later was his memorial service in LA at MGM Studios, and hosted by Whoopi Goldberg, and it was about 150 people there, and dancers and percussionists. And I walked I flew from here, Nashville, to, back to LA. And I walked in and Lisa saw me and she walked up to me and she said, I'm having friends tell stories, remembrances of Buddy, preferably something amusing, maybe 3-4 minutes long, something like that. And I'd like you to speak. And I said, you could have called me last week and, prepare something. But I said, okay, I'll think of something. And then I turned to her and I said, now, wait a second. You want me to get up on stage and tell a funny story in front of Whoopi Goldberg? And so she said, yeah. And okay. So I sat down and I sat next to Jennifer Grey, who co-starred with Buddy in Dirty Dancing. She cried for 3 hours straight. I mean, she did not stop crying. But finally, it was my turn to get up, and I had a couple of different stories that I was thinking of telling, but somebody had mentioned his DeLorean. And so I got up and I told the story I just told you, because I said, speaking of his DeLorean, I have to, and so that was an interesting moment.
And really carry through the whole thing. I want to, you're staying with the show to do the quiz, but I have a couple more minutes with Stacy Wide to ask you some more questions before we bring Dave in. But we've been talking a lot, of course, about Patrick Swayze, but you at one point also worked with Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft, and I'm a little curious about any stories about them.
Well, I didn't work with Mel Brooks, but I did work with Anne Bancroft, and the two stories are tied together. Because I think it was the mid-'80s, ABC tried to revive the political satire show, That Was the Week That Was. So they did a one-off special to see what the ratings would be, to how it would take. And the co-hosts were David Frost, who was the original host from the 60s, and Anne Bancroft. I was writing music for the show and kind of music directing it also. From the shooting standpoint. And the producers called me and they said, Anne's going to do a song, a spoof of the poem and song Trees about acid rain. And we want you to be right off camera playing piano for her. So you're going to have to rehearse with her at her house in, Brentwood.
Sure. And
yeah, I loved Anne. I mean, such a fan of her movies. And so I said, great, but also it's talking to the producers. So I said, so it's just going to be her on stage singing this song? And they said, yeah. And I said, what if there is a barbershop quartet that backs her up, but they're dressed as trees, so you don't know that they're really there at first, and then they lean in and start singing. The producers looked at me and said, that's a great idea. And so that's how it was done. And so I went to Anne Bancroft's and Mel Brooks' house to rehearse with her, and the first thing that hit me was I was stunned. First off, she was unbelievably wonderful and gracious. And they had this dog, fairly big dog, and she's holding it back. And she said, "Don't mind the dog." And I looked at her and I said, "Where are you from?" So she said, "I'm from the Bronx." And I said, I didn't realize that she had such a strong New York accent. She said, "Do you want some coffee?"
Coffee.
Yeah,
Coffee. Yeah.
So anyway, we rehearsed at her piano. It was, obviously beautiful home. But when we shot the show, at one point she was on stage, she's reading cue cards, and Reagan was president at the time. And she said, "And President Ronald Reagan said," and voice comes on the intercom, and the audience is there, and the director says, "And we got to back up." And so she said, "Why? What happened?" And this voice yelled out from the audience, distinctly Mel Brooks, yelling, "You said Reagan. Who says Reagan? It's Reagan." So that was hysterical. So cut to 3 years later, I'm up for the score of a movie, The Fly 2, and it's down to me and 2 other composers. And my agent called me and said, "Well, you're meeting with the executive producer tomorrow. It's Mel Brooks." And I said, "Wait a second, back up. I'm meeting with Mel Brooks tomorrow, who is one of my personal gods. And because of the producers, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, not to mention the 2,000-Year-Old Man albums, which I grew up with." And he said, "Yeah, but don't be excited. It's going to be like 10 minutes. He'll do the talking, all of this." So I go to Mel Brooks' office, and I'm in the ante room with the assistant, and he's got his door open and he's on the phone. And it was the funniest thing. He said, "Stace, I'll be right with you." And my family calls me Stace. And I was like, wait a second, did he just talk to my mother or something? And so finally he said, "Come on in." And it was evident he was talking to his son, who was having back problems. I could kind of glean that. So the first thing I did when I sat down, I think I really disarmed him. I said, "What's going on with your son's back?" And he said, "Oh, God." And he goes into this thing. And so then he's looking at me. He says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Long Island, but my whole family's from Brooklyn." And he said, "Where?" And I said, "Brownsville." And he said, "That's where I'm from." And so I said, "Yeah, I had heard that. My father was on Pitkin Avenue. My mother was on Amboy Street, And so all of a sudden, it's family.
You didn't get the gig, though. You didn't do Fly Test. You're oldest. You knew him. Yeah.
But I got to sit and talk with Mel Brooks for an hour and a half.
Oh, lovely. Oh, yeah.
And even talk about some of his movies, like A Scene in High Anxiety. And to me, I call it my greatest rejection ever. And my theory also in the entertainment industry is when the quality of your rejections are getting better, it means you're moving up the ladder.
Wow.
Because being rejected by higher and higher people. So
I always wanted to be rejected by Grace Kelly. I figure, princess, why not? Thank you very much. Now, by the way, one moment, you said that Mel Brooks was talking about his son's back trouble. When you said, I'm assuming you're talking about Rob Reiner.
No.
The other, I'm thinking totally wrong. My brain went in the wrong direction there. Because unfortunately, I'm looking at the clock here. And I must go, although Dave, who is the producer, the host of this program, he's coming right back, in a moment to stay with you, Stacy Wydelitz, and with our guests who do the weekly Today, Yesterday History quiz. Are you ready for that? Do you love quiz and trivia and things like this?
Yeah, I guess I'm ready. Yeah.
As ready as you will ever be. Let me just, I'm checking Dave's messages, and yes, perfect. All right, here we go. So, hang tight or loose, however you prefer hanging, and Dave will be with us in literally a moment or so. But meanwhile, I have to play my theme music, which is a little different from electronic, movie music. It sounds just a little bit more like this. ladies and gentlemen. Hi, it's me. It's Dave. Always have a transition.
Such an uncanny resemblance.
Well,
gotta be related.
Not even a strand. Oh, no. We lost our comeback. I was just about to let in our guest, and going to now have to tell her that to come back.
Give me the phone. I'll text.
Yeah, I'm doing it right this second. I'm sorry. So what? Here's the did it sound? Yeah, there it goes. Here's the deal. Every week we do a segment on Dave's Gone By. By the way, that's the name of this program. It's a little bit after 11 o'clock Eastern Time in, here she comes, in the neighborhood, where we do our Today, Yesterday quiz. And this is a history quiz, and we're letting in one of our regular contestants. Here comes theater critic and director Leslie Hoban Blake. Hello, Leslie.
Hello.
Wait, Les, you there?
She's on mute.
Are you? You're mute, or she needs to get to her microphone. Leslie, can you say something?
You're muted.
Oh, she knows that. She's looking for the unmute button.
I got it. Good morning.
She got it.
Hi.
Good morning.
Who's
Good morning, Leslie.
in front of all those gold records? Who are you?
Leslie doesn't watch the first part of the show, so let me explain.
I for the 150th time, I am not on Facebook.
I know, but
I'm sorry.
Our guest does not know that you've said this 149 times because he doesn't watch our show either. So let me explain.
I do watch it the next day on YouTube. I do watch it.
So we're talking, by the way, Leslie Van Blake, please welcome our guest in the neighborhood this week. His name is Stacy Wydellitz. He is a film and television composer.
Oh, my goodness.
That big case you see behind him are platinum records for the soundtrack to Dirty Dancing, which he worked on a song with Patrick Swayze on. So because they were old friends and then they were buddies and stuff. So while we wait actually for our other contestant, David Short, I'm not sure what's up with him, but before he comes here, since I have a moment with you, and Rabbi Sol didn't get to ask this, I have Rabbi Sol's notes, amazingly enough. Your first real gig beyond the film strips that you were talking with him about, you did the theme for the Richard Simmons show? Oh, yes, tell me the story about that.
That was my first national credit. Wendy Fraser, whom I started seeing and then living with in New York, in Astoria, Queens, actually. Her father was a television producer, and I had met him. He was living in LA, and I played him some of the music that I was doing for this studio in Connecticut, because by that point we had expanded what we were doing in Connecticut. And he really liked what I was doing. And then, we found out that he was doing a new show, and Wendy and I called him and said, can we submit something on it? Because Wendy was also a very good writer as well as being a great singer. And he said, yes, but I'm not going to just give it to you, because he said, I have to like it. My wife has to like it because she's producing it with me. The syndicator has to like it, and the star has to like it. If you can satisfy all four of those, you've got it.
Sexually.
And we did.
Oh, but the star was Richard Simmons. What was he like back then? Come on, you got to share some kind of Richard Simmons-y story or something.
I got to know him very well, especially once Wendy and I moved to California. I still have a Cuisinart that he gave me for Hanukkah. So, he was, without a doubt, the funniest person to have dinner with on the face of the earth, because he was so uninhibited. He would get up, he'd say, usually there was a group of 6 to 10 of us, and he'd see somebody eating a pile of French fries at another table, and he'd go over and start yelling at them and pointing and says, do you know what that's going to do to you? And all this. But he had this ability, like Don Rickles, to be insulting, but be endearing at the same time.
Well, yeah, endearing was his middle name. Everybody loved Richard Simmons.
David has that same. Dave Lefkowitz has that same quality.
No, he is. I'm horrible. And by the way, speaking of David's, let me introduce first, because you were just came in. David Sheward is the former president of the Drama Desk. He's also a theater critic and blogger. So, David Sheward, please meet and welcome composer Stacy Weidelitz.
Hello.
Oh,
For a minute, where are you now, Stacy? By the way, are you in California? Where are you, or Nashville?
No,
yeah.
I moved to Nashville about 20 years ago after years in LA. So I'm sitting at my piano in my living room in Oak Hill, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville.
And were you writing country music for a bit, or?
Yes, and still occasionally dabble in that. But yeah, I actually have a country gold record, which I'm thrilled about. And then got very involved in the arts community here.
Right. Yeah.
President of Nashville Opera, president of Leadership Music, president of Nashville Film Festival,
Wow.
president of Grammy-nominated Alias Chamber Ensemble. And so, and then I actually ran for office in 2016, and I served for 4 years as a commissioner in the city of Oak Hill.
Good. We got to have you back on the show to talk more with Rabbi Sol, because we have barely scratched the surface.
Stacy, real quick question. Is that real platinum on those things, or are they just faux platinum?
It would have been melted down by now if it was real platinum.
I was going to say, okay, I was just curious. How safe are you in a house full of that much platinum? But okay.
I have a very vicious dog, so who's asleep in bed right now.
Well,
I have a platinum ring and I know what it costs. That's why I'm asking.
Well, I'm so cheap. I use faux cardboard. I don't even bother. It's everything. This paper is not even real paper.
That's a great line from the producers, actually.
Which?
In the
I'm
opening,
wearing a cardboard belt.
he pulls his belt. He says, "I'm wearing a cardboard belt."
Yes. Anyway, last thing before we start the quiz, and thank you guys all of you for joining us. But Stacy, do you have a website? Can people go to stacywidelitzcom or
Yes,
the best place to follow? Yeah,
that's exactly it. STACYWIDELITZ.com. It's relatively new, and it's kind of a mixture of stories, then my photography, which is a whole other relatively new thing, my black and white photography. And then you can listen to music, but also I tell the story behind the writing of the song if I focus on a particular song. So it's kind of a fun site. And I've got the photos broken down into different locales like Havana, Berlin, London, places that I've been with my camera over the last 5.5 years.
So it's
Stacy, I understand that you need the site for the photos, but it sounds like a podcast for the rest of the stuff. The stories would be fabulous to just listen to.
Yeah, it's possible. Or what I think I'm moving toward is also a book of some sort.
Oh, well, that's a book with an inserted CD, right?
Oh, the audio book.
Yeah.
Also, you can underscore your own book with
Wow.
a creepy electronic underneath. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
And
country music as well. Yes, and now that Rabbi Sol has introduced you to klezmer, just a little bit of that.
No, I have. My mother was in Yiddish theater when she was a kid in Brooklyn, and she was actually like in the chorus backing Aaron Lebedev and people like that. And so she told me stories of Aaron Lebedev, how he would be out in front of the chorus and he turned to spit and he'd spit on the chorus's shoes. And, that he always walked out singing the highest note he possibly could. He did the opposite of what you're supposed to build up. He'd walk out with the climax, then come back down, then build it back up. So
I'm just intrigued by all the phlegm in that man, because he's Jewish and he's singing. It's just the phlegm has to go somewhere. Why not on the chorus?
Right.
Oh man, I've got to get you back on the show and soon, because I just every time you open your mouth, it's like, oh yeah, my mom was in the English. What? She, every single thing is like Anne Bancroft. Okay, but it's not fair to of course Leslie and to David, who are here.
I'm delighted to listen. I'm fine.
I know, me too. But it's already it's 10 after 11, and our show is a finite period of time. So let me tell you the rules of yesterday. It's our weekly quiz. It's pretty simple rules. So here's the deal. You'll be answering questions, all of you. A question goes to each of you. It's worth 2 points. If you get the question right, you get the 2 points. If you get it wrong, there's no penalty, but one of the other two contestants gets to try and steal that question and get the 2 points. But before we do anything like that, one of the things, I do have my roll a die up, so I'm going to ask our guest, Stacy Wydelitzz, can you pick, please, a number between 1 and 6?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, there's no, oh yes, tell me.
Okay.
Oh, David has to guess.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if this is like a magic show. 5.
So, Stacy does the number 5. Leslie, again, lady, I know the whole world is changing in terms of sexist and sexist. Whatever.
I'm in the middle, which is a great place to be. Anyway,
Oh.
David, sure, these are for you. Remember we talked about the rubber duckies?
Oh,
This is part of my massive collection, just so you know.
Everyone,
the
duck.
number 2, please. The number 2, 1, 2 duckies. That's I can go on Sesame Street now.
So-
1, 2 duckies.
Stacy has 5
Right.
and Leslie has 2. So I will pick 3.
David, sure, having 3. All I'm going to do now is roll a common...
Leslie, is that a ghost duck? What's up?
Yeah, well, what's up with that completely white duck, Leslie? Is it albino or so? What's going on?
No, he's
Alopecia?
gray. He's not white. And
Oh.
it says, I am very busy on him. He is my mantra. I am very busy, it says on his little front.
Well,
Actually, it's a her, but that's okay.
oh, okay. Well, I guess she's very busy on the web. Okay, a little duck. Okay, I'm rolling the die, and it comes up. Look at this, beginner's luck. So, Stacy Wydelitzz, excuse me, you came up, you chose 5. The die came up number 5. That means you get to choose whether to go first, second, or third. Your choice.
I'll go second.
Oh, okay, second. And so I'm going to roll the die one more time, and it comes up a number 3, which is David's number. David, do you want to be second or third?
Stacy wants to be second.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, first to third. Forgive me, first to third.
First.
First. David Short, and then Leslie.
What else? Right, okay.
Would you like to be third, Leslie? I think you would.
Do
So,
I have a no, I'm gonna leave now. Thank you. It was
Okay,
lovely
great.
meeting all of you guys. I'm gonna go have a sandwich.
so here's the deal. Every single one of these, there's 9 questions and 1 tiebreaker, but we end up doing all 10 questions anyway. As I say, each is worth 2 points, and every single one of these questions has to do with something in world history that happened on this date. So all of these happened on April 10th in some year, sometime. So we,
And they all have the word popcorn in them at some point.
Yes.
they,
at some-
they might have a popcorn reference in them. See, Stacy, if you've been watching,
These are the inside jokes, Stacy. Come back, you'll get the hang of it.
Okay.
So we begin though with David Short, who gets to go first, and the first question goes back to 1816.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you're a teacher. You'll probably get this. Quote,
Okay.
In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, began a poem that the author recited to his friend Lord Byron today. Byron told him, quote, you should publish that. Who was Byron talking to?
I think it's Tennyson.
No.
Wow.
Okay, so Stacy, it may be correct. It may not be correct, but
Oh,
Don't give it away.
I don't answer yet.
Competition.
Don't give it away.
We have chances to come in and steal, so you don't want to do that.
I
You
have
didn't
read the poem.
explain all the rules to him.
I
I'd
did
like
read
to
this.
feel that-
I did read the poem in high school, and I don't remember. I think it's Tennyson, so I'll just say Tennyson. And Stacy says no. So
Well, thank you for playing by the rules, David Stewart. It is anyone for Tennyson? No, it is not anyone for Tennyson. So wait, Stacy, hold on,
Oh.
Stacy. I know you seem like you can steal, but I get to roll a
Oh,
die
pick me.
to decide who gets the chance to steal. So I'm rolling, and we come up with a number 6, which is actually closer to Stacy Wydelitzz. So you, Stacy, get the first chance to steal this question. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, began a poem by this author who recited it to his friend Lord Byron today. And Byron said, hey, you should publish that. Whom was Byron talking to?
Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
And is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, you are now my colleague because Samuel Taylor Coleridge is the correct answer. Well, you just knew it right off. Well done.
congratulations.
And I will tell this to you, and I tell this to all the first-time guests playing the Today, Yesterday quiz. The fact that you even have 2 points in this quiz is wonderful. Sometimes people come on here, they get a big old goose egg, they get everything wrong. So just getting on the board is a pretty great accomplishment. So congratulations.
We did that already, but okay, we'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
I do a.
Oh, yes.
Better
So
than
please
that
come
little
back every
xylophone.
week and do that for us. Oh,
You
do
get
we have to pay
theme.
royalties?
Much better
Wait,
than
do
that
we have
little
to pay royalties if you do that?
xylophone thing.
Yeah, I can't afford him, but
My people will contact your people. So.
you are so welcome to come up with a theme for like this game. I would love that. That'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
for Bupkis, right? For
Yeah, but
Bupkis.
for what I can pay for this program. But speaking of payment, you are paid 2 points, Stacy Widelitz, because you are now in the lead. But we now get to our second contestant, who is you. So here's the deal: if you get the second question directly, that's the order we're going. You can build on your lead if you get this question right, Stacy. Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
The year 1841. Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. He founded a newspaper today, which he edited with the help of Henry J. Raymond, who later co-founded the New York Times. But what was the name of Mr. Greeley's paper?
Huh. It was in New York. Was it the Herald Tribune?
I'm going to ask, one of the things that we do sort of like NPR is ask, is that your final
No, Jeopardy.
answer? Or, well, yeah. So is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Hark, the Herald Tribune sings. That is absolutely the correct answer. Well done. It actually started as the New York Tribune, and then they added Herald about a year or two later. But well done. Oh, my God.
Excellent.
Stacy Wydell running away with the Today, Yesterday game. But Leslie hasn't even gone yet. And this question goes to you, Leslie Hoban Blake.
Right.
The year 1858. And this is a multiple choice. After the first one cracked, Big Ben is recast for the Palace of Westminster. Which of these is not true about the bell and its clock? Is it A, the base reads, quote, "O Lord, keep safe our Queen Victoria" in Latin? B, a year after the recasting, the bell cracked again? C, tourists can visit the clock, but only residents of the United Kingdom can tour inside it? Or D, when Charlie Chaplin died, the bell went silent during his funeral?
Huh. Wow. David loves to make up these questions. He gets
These are
really,
how I
gets
spend
into
my
that.
week.
Okay.
And I can
All
read the whole
right.
thing again if you want. Yeah.
Wait. All right. So I'm going to do some thinking out loud. Was Victoria queen in 1858? I know she was queen for many, many years. And she was queen in 1898, I think. That would be 40 years. I'm not sure. So I'm going to put that one on the side shelf. The one that cracked was the Liberty Bell, I believe, after it was recast. So I don't think that's it. And the other two just don't make any sense to me. Say those other two again.
And remember, the question is, so Big Ben on this day is recast for the Palace of Westminster. Which of these is not true about the bell and its clock? A, the base reads, "O Lord, keep safe our Queen Victoria" in Latin. B, a year after the recasting, the bell cracked again. C, tourists can visit the clock, but only residents of the United Kingdom can tour inside it. Or D, when Charlie Chaplin died, the bell went silent during his funeral.
Charlie Chaplin hated the British, so that's really very interesting. For his David Copperfield childhood. Let's say Charlie Chaplin. I really don't know the answer. Let's say Charlie Chaplin.
And is that your final answer?
Ah oui, c'est la dernière. Wait, what?
Oh,
I can't hear a word you're saying. What?
That's because
silent.
I'm being silent.
Oh,
Leslie
you're
Hoban
being
Blake.
silent.
May I ask, because it's possible that all of those were the correct answer.
Well, each of
It
these
didn't
actually was
track.
true, except that one. And what happened was it wasn't Charlie Chaplin. They did it for Winston Churchill. So they silenced the bell at Winston Churchill's funeral. But every single other one of those, the bell did crack again a year after they
Right,
finished it.
right.
And you have to be a British citizen to
I didn't
to
know
go
that.
into the bell.
So did I get the point or I didn't get the point?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You
What?
did.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I wasn't sure with all the stuff going around it. I didn't hear that part.
With all the falderall, yes. Well,
Okay, yes, with all the silence, I couldn't figure it out. Thank you.
you're welcome. And Leslie,
I'm lip reading now.
you are now in second place because you have.
Uh,
So here's it's Stacy in the lead with 4 points, Leslie with 2 points, and David yet to get on the board. But David, you begin round 2 with
Okay.
first question. So here we
All
go. Lots of time for you to come on back. And by the way, David is like the guy get beat. He's sort of like the big
don't
champion. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's being modest. Look at that.
Go ahead.
Here's the deal, and it's a multiple choice also.
Okay.
1866 was the year. Incorporated today by Henry Bergh was the ASPCA, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Which of these is not true about Mr. Bergh? A. He also helped found a society for prevention of cruelty to children. B. He arrested a sea captain for being cruel to turtles. C. He was an acclaimed playwright, at one point with 3 hit shows in London. Or D. President Lincoln appointed him as a diplomat to Russia.
Oh, any one of those could be true, because I've never heard of this guy, and the playwright one strikes me as kind of fishy, because I think I would, but from that era, but maybe later. I mean, Albert Berg, is that the name?
Henry Bergh.
Henry Berg.
I'll spell B-E-R-G-H, founded ASPCA.
What is the H silent?
G-H.
Is the H silent?
Well, I'm not saying Berg, it's Berg.
B-E-R-G-H? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Henry Bergh.
I don't know. My instincts are sort of leaning me towards the playwright thing, because I've never heard of him. And but it's possible, Broadway was not really, but it could have been maybe later or earlier. But and at that time, a hit of if you run 100 performances or 2 weeks, that was considered a hit. So it's what are the first two?
I'll read which of these is not true about Henry Bergh? Is it A, he also helped found a society for preventing cruelty to children? B,
Right.
he arrested a sea captain for being cruel to turtles? C, he was an acclaimed playwright at one point with 3 hit shows in London? Or D,
In
London. D, President Lincoln appointed him as a diplomat to Russia.
Well, he probably was appointed to a diplomat to Austria instead of Russia, or something like that. Or the sea captain was cruel to fish instead of turtles, or something. So since it was in London, it's entirely possible. So maybe he was. It could be anything. This is one of those things where it's just a wild guess. I'll say B, the sea turtles.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, sure.
Well, David Schwrig, it's nice that you came out of your shell, but I'm afraid the turtles is not the correct answer. He actually did a citizen's arrest of a sea captain for being cruel to turtles, essentially.
Okay.
So
All right.
this is a stealable question. We're going to roll the die, and we're going to see who gets to try and answer it. Here we go. We have the number 3 come up. Somebody has directly a number 3. I know it's David, but Leslie is closer to it. So.
Oh, I thought it was okay. I thought it was Stacy. All right.
Yeah, no, Stacey has the number 5. You have the number 2, so 2 is close
It's enough I can remember my number. That's why I stay with the same number. So these are my choices. Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. The sea turtles are out. The next one is playwright, and the last one is ambassador. Right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say the playwright.
And that is your final answer?
Hesitantly, yes.
Oh, Leslie Blake, you are such a drama queen. That is the correct answer.
Oh.
Well done, Leslie. Here's the deal. He really was a playwright, but he was a bad one, and he had a couple of flops, including his plays A Decided Scamp and Peculiar People. So he did not have hits in London. He did write plays early in life, and they
Were they
went
done in London or in
England. So
Okay.
So was he British or was he American?
I don't remember. I guess he was British. Weird.
Because I thought the ASPCA came from the Royal Society, and I thought the Brits started it, and it was the Royal Society for the Prevention of. So if he must have been American. If he founded the American Society,
For prevention of cruelty to animals, but why would he have done all these
And
things?
if he was appointed ambassador, then
that's right. But no, the Brits appoint ambassadors also.
No, but I mean, he was appointed by Lincoln.
Oh, thank you. I missed that part. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Tsarist
You're
Russia.
good, Stacy. You're really on top of all that. Wow.
But he spent some time in Europe, which is why he was writing plays in England, and
So he must have seen the Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and brought it back. And I guess.
Maybe.
Anyway, the most important thing about this is not for cruelty to animals, is that you got 2 points, Leslie.
Yes, right. Yay, me. Screw the animals. Wow, I got 4 points.
Yeah, you're tied for second, or tied for first, really. You're both of you are tied for first and second, Stacy and Leslie.
David, sure. Did you not have your coffee this morning?
I got the weird questions.
Yeah, he got one of them a little weird.
And I didn't study up on my English literature.
There you go. So,
who was the English literature? We haven't had an English literature
Coleridge.
question.
Coleridge.
Oh, Coleridge. I'm sorry, but that's not English either. That's British. So go ahead.
Oh, bears.
I'm sorry. I have Samuel Taylor Cholera. I don't know what that means.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that one.
Please.
We're all going to pretend. None of us heard it. None of us heard it at
ring
all.
around the cholera. All right, here we go. We're up to our next question in our second round, and this question will go directly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to Stacy. So, Stacy, you can build on your tie and take the lead. If you get this question, we go to 1896, April 10th, 1896. Crown Prince Constantine and Prince George of Greece joined their fellow countryman Spiridon Lewis to help him finish doing what?
Repeat the question.
I will. Okay, the year is 1896. On this date, Crown Prince Constantine and Prince George of Greece joined their fellow countryman Spiridon Lewis to help him finish doing what?
Doing what? Was it the restoration of the Parthenon?
Ooh.
I can't tell you until I'm sure that's your final answer.
That's my final answer.
Well, I'm afraid I want no part of that. That is not the correct answer, I'm afraid. So we have a steal opportunity from our 2 other panelists. Let me get back to my, how do I get back to my roll of die? Where is it? Oh, give me a moment. There's just so many things open at the same time. Here it is. I'm going to roll the magical die. And we have a 1, which is closer to Leslie. So Leslie, you have a shot of stealing this question on this date in 1896. Crown Prince Constantine and Prince George of Greece joined their fellow countryman Spiridon Lewis, and it might be Louis, but I think it's Lewis, to help him finish doing what?
I don't have the foggiest idea. This one you don't give us a multiple choice on?
I would, I couldn't, because if I had it as you guess it.
Give him a coffee.
Oh,
Yeah, didn't you have
Okay, all right. Give me a second. I want here. I I keep thinking it's the partition of Greece and Cyprus, but I don't know that it went back that far. Spiridon Lewis, the Greek president. I don't know. Prince Philip wasn't born yet. I have no idea.
You can guess.
I know, but I'm thinking Greece, and nothing's coming except, John Travolta. Nothing is coming.
It's a word. Have you heard? Yeah.
I know. I said John Travolta, but that isn't going to work. I'm well and truly tapped. I'm going to say to finish the partition of Cyprus and Greece. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't Parth, and it wasn't part either. So no Leslie Oban Blake. So David Sheward, do you want to take a stab at answering this question?
Yes, I think it is carrying the Olympic torch to light it for the first Olympics.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
I'm going to consult with the judges on this one. You win. You get at least 1 point.
Oh, gee.
It wasn't because yes, you were absolutely right. It was the first modern day Olympics, and yes, he was a runner. But what they did was they helped him run the last lap. They kind of joined him in the last bit of it. So I can't really give you it wasn't the whole torch thing. He was the first Olympic marathon runner winner of the modern day Greek.
And all of Greece got up and ran with him? What? Who ran with him?
The Crown Prince and the Prince George of Greece. Because
they ran with him. Oh my goodness! I never heard this story.
In the arena, they were the ones who ran. So were they helping him carry the torch?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know if he was carrying a torch. Would you run 25 miles carrying a torch?
No, you don't carry the torch is brought in at the beginning, and they have a thing, and that's not. But still, that's amazing that you knew anything about that. I knew nothing.
Well, I know that the first Olympics was in 1896.
I did not know that.
So I can totally give you. I'm comfortable giving him 1 point. I think that's fair. I think that's very, very fair.
Do you have to ask the other participants to use another PART word? That was a joke, so I could get my pun in. Thank you.
Oh, what was your pun? What was the pun?
We had Parthenon, we had partition, and I said you have to ask the other participants. It was a very subtle joke. Nobody got it, David. It was very subtle.
And you know what the response to that is? Oh, Mr. Peabody.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
I guess you're coming.
I watched one of those, thanks to you. I watched one this week.
Oh, which one?
And he never said, "Oh, Mr. Peabody." No, it's the later one. It's from 2017. I couldn't find the early one online.
27. They were making new ones.
I just couldn't find it.
There's a movie.
No, they redid it in 2017. It wasn't the movie.
How was it?
It was a series.
There was a series on Netflix, yes.
How was it? I would love to see that. Was it good?
It was not good. It was nowhere near what the original was.
It was like, imagine Mr. Peabody and Sherman hosting a talk show.
Basically.
I can enjoy that. By the way, Stacey, this is totally we're talking about Rocky and Bullwinkle show where we get a line that David usually says when I make a really bad pun. Was it, "Oh, Mr. Peabody," and so that just evolves into what this.
That's what Sherman said when Mr. Peabody would give a really bad pun at the end of their episodes.
So there. Anyway, we are going to conclude the second round.
Don't get him started on spam. Do not get him started on spam.
Go on. Let's just keep it moving.
Keeping it. Mention. There we go.
Oh my God! Look at that. Oh.
I haven't got the ready.
Said to Jack Benny on that episode of Laugh-In, keep it moving, keep it moving.
All right. Thank you, David. Okay, we're here. We're doing it, and we have a question though.
I'm thinking.
Yes, for Leslie. Leslie, you get this next question, and if you get it right, you can go into the lead. So this is pretty neat. Here we go. I know, this makes your week. Here's the question, April 10th, 1947. So we moved quite
That was a bit of a leap. Nothing happened between 1898 and 1947.
Nothing at all. The world was wiped out by a plague and slowly came back. And by 1947,
okay, go ahead.
Citing gambling, disrespect, and other moral failings, baseball commissioner Happy Chandler suspends this manager, nicknamed the Lip, on the first day of the season. Name this Baseball Hall of Famer who rarely finished last.
Even I know this. Leo DeRocher.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Leo and Mio. Oh, Leo, yes. Speaking of the producers, well done. Leslie Hope Van Blake. It was Leo the Lip DeRocher who
My
was.
grandfather was a Giants fan. I believe DeRocher was either the Dodgers or the Giants. I don't remember
Oh.
which.
Yeah. And even though he was suspended for a full year, he still finished his career with more than 2,000 victories.
Absolutely.
Well, see,
Famous,
I didn't put any sports questions in, and then I put one in, you got it.
Yes.
There.
We don't have sports questions as a rule because none of us know sports really.
Yeah. But Leslie, you know enough to have 6 points.
God bless my grandfather. That's all I can say.
All right, all right. Now we begin our round 3, our final round of our Today Yesterday quiz with a question that goes right to David Schuer. David, you're still in the game. You have a point. You can get more. 1953 was the year.
Mm-hmm.
Released today in New York is the first full-length color film in 3D. Among the cast are a young Charles Bronson and a pre-Addams Family Carolyn Jones as murder victim Kathy Gray. Name that film.
Oh, the first 3D
Full-length 3D movie.
full color picture, and Carolyn Jones is a murder victim,
Mm-hmm.
and Charles Bronson is in it.
Yeah, but he wasn't, a young Charles Bronson.
All right. God, I don't know. That's really obscure. Carolyn Jones. Oh, I should know this, but I don't. And Leslie is acting like she does, or
No, I'm acting like you should know this. That's what I'm acting like.
I should know this.
That was not my.
That's pretty obscure. It's not the title that comes into my head is "Murder My Sweet," but that's not it. Oh God. Let's All Murder Carolyn Jones.
I saw that movie. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
God. I'll go back to what I was going to say. Murder My Sweet.
Murder Your Sweet what? No, there we go.
Sweet Coffee. That's my final answer.
Well, I'm afraid sweet has turned sour for you, David Schuer. That is not the question. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not the answer. So we have a chance for our panelists, our other panelists, to try and steal. We go to the number 4, and 4 is right. Let's see, it's actually closer to Stacy. So Stacy, do you want to try stealing this question? Released in 1953 on this date. The first full-length color film in 3D. Among the cast are a young unknown Charles Bronson and a pre-Addams Family Carolyn Jones as murder victim Kathy Gray. Name that film.
I know film trivia, but this one is beyond me. Murder victim. No, I actually have no idea.
You want to take like Bambi or something, or just have a?
Well, it's a pack of 50-foot woman. I know that.
Let's All Murder Carolyn Jones.
Yeah, but Let's All Murder Carolyn Jones, which has such a nice ring to it.
Unless you're Carolyn Jones.
I don't have the foggiest on that.
So you're gonna do a pass?
Yeah, I'll pass.
Oh, can I? No, I won't say because it might go to Leslie.
No, don't, because I have.
Leslie has a chance to still
Okay,
steal.
go ahead.
So Leslie, released today, 1953, first full-length color film.
Yeah, okay. You don't have to go through it. I know what it is.
Okay, go, Leslie.
It's House of Wax. It's House of Wax. It was a remake of an earlier movie.
Right.
Charles Bronson was in it under his real name, Charles Bronkowski, I think.
Oh.
All of those facts are on TCM. If you ever watch Turner Classic Movies, that's where I learned it.
Oh.
I didn't know it.
So it wasn't that obscure. Yeah, I
was so surprised. I thought, they'll get that in a heartbeat.
The way you phrased
As
it.
soon as you said it.
I didn't want to mention Vincent Price because that would have given it away.
Of course,
Yeah.
would have. Would you have known if he said Vincent Price?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. I would have known it also.
Yeah.
So we try and keep them a little more difficult.
Charles Bronson was like the Igor character. He was the sidekick to Vincent Price.
Okay.
You know, he also had a small role in the movie Pat and Mike.
Yes.
Katharine Hepburn and
Right, I remember that.
I think he was Charles Bronson by then. I think he had already changed.
No,
He still hadn't changed his
he
name?
still was using his original name.
How about
Okay.
But
All right.
later on, he had a death wish. But, you know, comedy. All right, so we are still in our third round of our Today Yesterday quiz with
right.
Leslie really starting
I thought you'd walk away with that one, David. I thought you'd mop up the floor with that
Well,
one.
it was the way he phrased it. You were very tricky. Very good.
Well, thank you, I guess. Because I know what I'm dealing with. I know that Leslie and David are two real serious movie and theater buffs. So if I'm going to come up with a question like that, I've got to be really threading the needle and give it away, you know?
And it looks like Stacy is too.
Yeah, which is and music, obviously. So the next question actually goes directly to Stacy, who still has 4 points to Leslie's 8 and David's 1.
8?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even know I had 8. Wow.
Yeah. So
I
it's
drew.
going to win, but we'll see.
That's what you said last night.
Oh,
And that's why you promised to throw the game today, David. I know.
Oh, sure, have another. We're not. What difference does it make?
now you might like this question, Stacy, and I don't know if our other sharks will snap this one up, but this goes directly to you first. It is a multiple choice, okay? The year 1957, released today, is the film version of the teleplay 12 Angry Men, the first feature film directed by Sidney Lumet. He would adapt several theatrical plays for the big screen, including all but one of these. Is it A, Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge, B, Anton Chekhov's The Seagull, C, Peter Schaffer's Equus, or D, Kurt Vonnegut's Happy Birthday, Wanda June?
So I'm choosing the one that he did not do.
Correct. Which of these was not directed by Sidney Lumet?
I'll say Happy Birthday, Wanda June.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, I guess you went with your Vanna gut, because that is the correct answer. Well done. All the other 3 were made into movies by Lumet, and the last one was made into a movie by Mark Robson in
I have to
1921.
say something. I interviewed Lumet for the Hollywood Reporter way at the end, toward the end of his life. And the thing that he regretted the most making into a film was The Wiz. He said he was the worst possible choice to do it. They
Because
wanted
of
him,
his
they
wife?
offered him a buttload of money, and he did it. And he said it was the biggest mistake of his life to do that film. Actually, when you go back and look at it now from the perspective of today, it ain't that bad. You know, I've seen worse, but
Well, what is bad about? I don't remember seeing the movie. I remember
he
seeing.
just
parts
felt
of
that
it.
he did not have it in him
Yeah.
to do a completely black musical, much less a musical by one completely black. All of it was not in his wheelhouse.
I thought the biggest issue was Diana Ross playing a teenager.
Yeah.
That's another story. That's an entirely different
And the
story.
fact that
That's
he
the only way they got any money for the damn thing. You know that.
And the fact that he
He was
did
a
not do.
you know,
He was not a musical director.
Mm-mm.
Right. Well, I mean, Norman Jewison did okay with Fiddler on the Roof, and I won't consider him really a music. I
And
mean,
he's not even Jewish. And he's not even Jewish.
I know with the name Jewison, he does Jesus Christ Superstar
I
and Fiddler on the Roof, and it's like, yeah,
I know.
I know, just wrong all the way
Well,
around.
very good.
Congratulations on knowing that one, by the
Very
way.
good.
Well done, Stacy. Now, this last question, boy, oh boy, you can really I think you already have, Leslie, but we can put the game away further by answering this final question of our third round. Are you ready, Leslie?
Sure.
The year was 1959. Born today in Massapequa, Long Island, is Brian Setzer, lead singer and guitarist for the band Stray Cats. Though their heyday was in the 1980s, the band keeps reuniting and releasing the occasional album. Which of these is not the title of a Stray Cats record? This is a multiple choice.
This is for Stacy a question, not for me a question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Which of these is not a fairly recent Stray Cats album? Is it
Popcorn.
no?
Hey, popcorn. Does it have the title popcorn? It's the one that has popcorn in the title, right?
Popcorn.
Is it A,
Popcorn. Go ahead.
Bumpity Bump, B, Gonna Ball, C, Choo Choo Hot Fish,
Ew.
or D, Rock Therapy?
Oh,
One of these is not a Stray Cats.
I beg you, just so we can laugh, say them all again.
I will. Oh, I absolutely will. Is it,
about-
And I'm to pick the one that isn't.
that is not a Stray Cats
How
album.
about cats eat popcorn and then vomit on your rug?
That's easy. Is it?
No, that's their documentary, David. That's their documentary.
Oh God! Is it A, Bumpity Bump, B, Gonna Ball, C, Choo Choo Hot Fish, or D, Rock Therapy? Which of these is not a Stray Cats album?
You know I don't have the faintest
I
idea, right?
realize that. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I listened to the Stray Cats. I remember him sitting on the fender of a car with that blonde hair. That's what I remember. I don't remember the name of the songs even. Okay.
Didn't they do
Just for the
memory?
hell of it. Just for the hell of it. I'm gonna say Hot Fish because that was my married name. Not Hot, but Fish.
Oh, go ahead. So is that going to be your answer? That was not the record. Choo Choo Hot Fish.
Sure.
Well, things did not go swimmingly for you, Leslie, on this question. That actually was a Stray Cats album title. And so,
The name Fish was never lucky for me. Never
Uh-oh.
worked.
well, you're certainly not going to win a fin by playing that. Oh, anyway. All right. Let's go. We have a number 3. 3 is David Short. David Short,
Okay.
would you like to steal
I'll
this?
try.
Yeah.
I'll-
There's no
I'll-
popcorn involved, but there's Bumpity Bump,
Bumpity bump,
Gonna Ball,
gonna
or
ball,
Rock Therapy.
rock therapy. You know, I thought Choo Choo would be in it because he was a character on Top Cat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ah.
Therefore, it makes sense that. But
If you see, he has the side door of cartoons. He knows everything else for movies and plays, and then in comes cartoons. Go ahead.
I'm stalling for time. So bumpity bump.
Gonna
rock-
Ball or
Gonna
Rock
ball
Therapy.
or rock therapy. I have no idea. Stacy, do you know this? I'm not asking for help. I just wonder if you know.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not
all
sure. I
right.
have theory, but I'm not sure.
All right.
I've never, you know, what's a weird thing is I'm in the music business. I can never remember song titles or the artists or the names of their records
All
unless
right.
it's
I'm
I listen to.
gonna
you know,
ball
from-
is probably it could be any one of them, and probably you found that title from another group, so it probably is a title of an album, probably just not this group. I'll gonna ball,
Is that your answer?
and that's what I said last night. Yes.
Oh! Well, that seemed like a well-rounded answer for Gonna Ball, but it is not the correct answer, David Chewett.
Okay.
So, Stacy,
Oh,
you
actually,
get...
Top Cat also had a character named Benny the Ball, so there you go.
Really?
I should figure that out.
So much for your cartoon connection.
Stacy
Knowing
Wydelitzz,
okay. Knowing how fun-loving the band is. Oh, here's a bit of nice trivia for you, by the way, about the band. The bass player, Lee Drucker, the whole band's from Long Island, and Lee Drucker, although that wasn't his stage name, his father, Stanley Drucker, was the principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic for 50
Wow.
years.
cool.
So, a very musical. And
Interesting.
Stanley Drucker was friends with my classical piano teacher on Long Island, Avram Sternclaw. So that's how I know.
Was Stanley disappointed that Lee went into rock?
No, because he
Just curious.
made.
He made a
so-
fortune, right? He made a buttload of money, right? Okay.
But back to the question, my choice is Rock Therapy.
You're going to say that is not an actual Stray
Yes.
Cats album title.
It's too normal.
Well, I guess I'm a gangsta, because I notice I pronounced it gangsta, because I bumped all of you off.
Oh,
The correct
Wow.
answer, the incorrect, it's Bumpity Bump. I made that up. There's no album by anybody by that name.
wow, that's a good title.
Thank you very
What's
much.
it called?
But
Oh, we should keep a list of all the titles that aren't, and if we ever form a rock group, those will be our albums.
I mean, excellent.
Bump.
And by the way, I want to give a little bit of trivia about the Stray Cats. That Choo Choo Hot Fish, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to do this question. It was named after a Chinese restaurant that was in their neighborhood. So they saw this restaurant like
Hot
Choo Choo
Fish.
Hot Fish.
Tell them
Yes.
about
Oh yeah, let's all eat there.
Wait, what?
Seafood enema.
Oh, you know, Joyce is reminding me of one of the greatest things of my entire life is years ago, I used to order Chinese food from a local place and they would deliver. And I would go on the menu, I'd call up, and they would have these impenetrable Chinese accents. And one of the things that they had, it's a weird enough name for a dish to begin with, but it was called seafood dynamite. And you actually see some Chinese restaurants still serve this seafood dynamite. It's like marinated, like tuna and whatever. But when the woman would get on the phone and repeat the order back to me, she made it sound like seafood enema. And it was like, oh, you want seafood enema? And I would make her repeat it like 3 times just because it was so beautiful. And Joyce heard it. She would remember. It was like, oh, you want a big seafood enema? I said, yes, seafood enema. Yeah. And
But
this
isn't
is how I
that
got
what it did when you ate it? I mean, isn't that what the
Or,
outcome
it
was?
was delicious, actually. But
or
dynamite
they
is
took a
almost the same thing. What,
They
Dave?
took a flounder and stuck it where the sun don't shine.
That's right.
Oh,
Oh, I don't even want to. Anyway, the current status of the game, and by the way, the quote-unquote final status of the game is that Leslie wins with 8 points. Stacy comes in second with 6, and David, not a great week for you, David.
I get
this
one.
has never happened, David.
Well, it's life. What are you gonna do?
And this is why we roll the die in the beginning, because we never know who's going to get what question.
He's so phlegmatic about it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I sulked for the whole week. He's been, he's okay. He goes on.
Okay.
Yeah, not like Dorothy Kilgallen, who would be very upset if she didn't guess the panel on What's My Line.
Right. Well, she take it out on her husband, Dick.
That's no apostrophe S there. Anyway,
No, his name was Dick.
I know. But now here's the deal, Stacy. Don't go away quite just yet. Do you have a pen and paper with you, by any chance? You're nearby.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Because even though the game is decided, we like to do the tiebreaker question anyway, just for funsies. So
Because David went to the trouble of writing it, so we
yes,
have to
because I
solve
spent
it.
like
Yeah.
10 minutes out of my life dealing with it. I'm going to force it on all of you. So what happens is instead of calling on you, you all get to hold up your answer at the same time. So we all get to see, if you got it right or not, just for fun. So you write out. I'll read the question twice. You'll write down the answer, and then when I give a 3, 2, 1, you show all of us right up to the camera what the answer is. You guys all ready?
Yes.
And Stacy, you got your stuff ready. Here we go. The year 1988, and yes, we have one more movie question for you. Winner, or is it loser, of the 8th Golden Raspberry Awards held today is this comedy featuring Bill Cosby as a former spy turned restaurant owner. Name that film.
Oh God.
I have no idea.
I'll hint. It's listed up there. People think of it as one of the worst films of all time.
Wow.
I'll give it another read. Released today in 1988. The winner, I'm sorry, no, it wasn't released today. The Golden Raspberry Awards were held today for horrible movies. And the winner, or is it loser, of worst film is this comedy featuring Bill Cosby as a former spy turned restaurant owner. Name that film. Okay, I'll give you a moment or two more. Stacy's just looking.
No,
This one.
drawing a blank. I thought Ishtar was named the worst film. So
Yeah, Ishtar wasn't that terrible, actually.
Year of 1988.
no, but
Ever.
Ishtar has a couple of good moments. It was Elaine May.
I've met Elaine May, and she. I did not bring that up. The
No,
comment I didn't meet her.
She's some of the worst
Kind of
movies I've ever
David,
seen.
not to bring that up.
Anyway,
Did you meet her when she was 86 after Waverly Gallery?
A little bit more recently.
Okay.
I'll have another little anecdote of making a faux pas about celebrities, but I'll wait till afterwards.
don't
Okay.
forget, I want to hear it. Yeah. So let's get the question done. I'm gonna give a 5, 4, 3, a 3, 2, 1, and even if you have nothing, just hold up the paper. Just so. Here it is. One more time. The question.
Tell him to draw a picture of Richard Simmons.
You can draw a picture of Richard Simmons. That'd be great.
Yeah.
8th Golden Raspberry Award, big winner/loser is this comedy featuring Bill Cosby as a former spy turned restaurant owner. Name that film. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I see Ghost. What was your, Stacy? I didn't see yours. Stacey,
mine is question marks.
Oh,
I have no
And-
idea.
the closest to any of this is David Schwartz, but it is not quite you're on the absolutely the right track, Leonard. Leonard, David. The name of the movie was Leonard Part 6.
Oh.
Anyone
I knew
remember
it
that
was-
came out?
I knew it was somebody's name, part something. I remember that.
Leonard Part 6 was supposedly absolutely terrible film.
Did he make a movie called Ghost Dad, or was that a brain fart?
I think that was with Denzel Washington, wasn't it?
I'll tell you in a mo.
Yeah, that some black performer was
Oh.
a movie called Ghost Dads. I don't know if it was Cosby.
It was
Oh,
actually
okay. Because
Leslie, you're on a very right track. That was 1990 American fantasy comedy film starring Bill Cosby and directed by Sidney Poitier.
Oh,
Wow. But that was
the
not
only film of his I could think of that wasn't I Spy,
It's supposedly pretty bad. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe that won some
but
raspberry.
not the 1988 Raspberry. He was closer with his Otis or something.
oh,
Yeah.
the anecdote I was going to say about celebrity faux pas when you meet a celebrity, what you don't do is I was ushering for an off-Broadway show, and Muriel Hemingway was the manager of the theater, was escorting her to her seat or something, and he introduced her to us. And she had just the night before been on David Letterman cleaning fish. It was a joke. It was a joke that that Letterman said he would make the people in the audience come up. Here's some free fish, and this young lady is going to clean it for you. It was Muriel Hemingway, and so I said, "Oh, I saw you on David Letterman cleaning fish the other night," and she said, "I don't want to talk about it."
Oh, all
So
right.
that was the wrong thing to say.
Yeah. Chris, I know.
Well, at least you didn't say something smells fishy in here.
Yeah, and I thought of that because the Hemingway thing was on this week, and she was his grandfather.
Oh, right,
Yeah, I
right.
like that very much. I really like that.
Well, what's a Hemingway? Oh, about 200
About a pound and a half.
pounds per good. Yeah.
About a
Ladies and gentlemen,
dollar a pound.
I want to thank our panelists. Well, first of all, let me thank most of all our very special guest in the neighborhood, someone that I definitely want to have back with more stories. His name is Stacy Wydellitz. You can go to his website, Stacy with no E, Stacy Wydellitz, WIDELITZ.com, to see the photographs that he's taken in various parts of the world, and as well as hear a lot of his music and the stories behind the music that he's done, the compositions that he's done, his friendship with the late Patrick Swayze, and I'm hoping a lot of other stories too. So, Stacy, how was your first inaugural visit to the neighborhood? Did you have a good time?
It was great. You know, I now have a craving for seafood dynamite. So,
Choo hotfish.
Yeah, or-
Call
you
him
know,
up.
it's interesting. It brought up a Long Island memory. In Huntington, Long Island, when I was a kid, there was a magical hamburger place right in the town called Hamburger Choo Choo. If you sat at the counter and ordered the hamburger deluxe, it came to you on a flat train car
How cute.
circulating around. And when you're a little kid and your hamburger arrives on a toy train or an electric train,
Huh.
it is just the greatest experience in the
thing.
world.
Yeah.
And
Fabulous.
a Facebook page that's called Friends of Hamburger Choo Choo, and people posting their memories of that place.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And what's
Nice.
I
amazing is,
only remember Huntington for going clam digging at the shore. That
Yeah,
was my Huntington memory.
Huntington
Was
Bay,
clam
and all that, but down, you know, in the town itself, that was where
Right.
hamburger,
right
right on
on.
Main Street.
I wish they would do that with like really high scale restaurants, like your filet mignon comes along, just grab
There's
your
there's a Japanese chain that does that. All
Yeah.
the food
with
comes
sushi.
out.
Yeah, I've been to one of those.
It's
Yeah,
not on a train. It's just on a track that comes
a
around.
conveyor kind of a conveyance. Yeah. Anyway, Stacy Wydellitz and of course Leslie Hoban Blake. Remember that you can watch Leslie as part of the video podcast Critics Circle. Do you have a new one or one from a week ago?
We have a new one. Yes, we have a new one that just went up. We also have ourselves. We were both in the Dramatist Guild pop-up where we wrote and performed monologues. And I haven't performed since 1985. So it was a big thing for me to get. I've spoken in public, but I haven't performed, quote unquote. We have a new show up and we have a new question up. we piggybacked off the New York Times on its recasting of the 75th anniversary of Follies, what it would be like in 25 years, who should be in it. So we went right now, we would like to see revivals of particular shows, and we recast them. Please, if you have any ideas on recasting a revival, would you send it to us, and we'll put them up on the show next time.
I'm the Thurgood Marshall show with me. There you go. I think I would be perfect.
That's out of the box thinking for sure.
And David Sheward, who is a blogger for the David Desk. You can also read his theater stuff on Cultural Weekly and TheaterLife.com. What have you written about this week, man?
Well, I wrote about Blindness, the first off-Broadway show to open.
Oh, you did go see that, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Did you go see that?
I did.
He heard it anyway. Yeah.
Well, it was fascinating. Where you're in a very large, vast space in the Darrell Roth Theater, separated seats, and you're given headphones, and there's lighting, and the sound is amazing. Juliet Stevenson reads the story, which is based on Jorge Scaramaco's Nobel Prize-winning novel, in which he imagines an epidemic of blindness and what happens in society as a result of that. And it was fascinating, and I was glad to be back inside a theater. Can
I ask you, David, because I'm tempted to see it, but I don't like shocking, scary noises out of nowhere. Are there gunshots and scary moments?
It's not a pleasant experience. I don't think that there's anything, and there are points where Juliet Stevenson narrates some really nasty things happening to people.
Yeah. Well, I've done nasty things to people. That I can tolerate. It's just scary, sharp noises that I don't like. So, all right, okay.
Doesn't it go back to what Simon What's-His-Face did with his one-man show where we all put on headphones and listen to him narrate this thing about going through the jungle? There's nothing original in it.
It was called The Incident?
Yeah, right. There's nothing original in the idea, but to pick something so down and so depressing at this particular time, to me, is just absolutely tone deaf.
Well,
as a return to the theater,
but it has a hopeful ending. I will say that.
Okay.
It has a hopeful ending, and the thing is, we can't just have flowers and lightness and Mamma Mia.
Why not? I want them.
No, you can have
cartoon, and I want Bugs Bunny and cartoon birds around my head.
I don't want realism. No, I don't want realism. I want magic.
I know. I played that part. I know all about that. I know about paper bags over light bulbs. I know about that.
I'll tell you a quick story why I know that line. First, being a huge fan of the movie, but also when I was a kid, my mother did community theater on Long Island, and good level community theater. She was a pretty well-trained actress, although she never pursued it professionally. And when I was about 12, the company that she was in, which was Tobay Players, Town of Oyster Bay Players, did Streetcar, and my mother was cast as Stella. And because I was interested in theater and music and all this, to learn her part, she had me read all the other parts against her, so she could learn her lines. So I got to be Blanche, I got to be Stanley, Mitch at some point, and it developed my love for Tennessee Williams to the point where I have a rose tattoo on my arm.
Oh my gosh!
And
look at that.
Was that's why I don't want realism. It's the lanterns, the Chinese lanterns that hangs on the bulbs.
We just interviewed the woman at La Femme who celebrated his 110th birthday by doing a Zoom of Night of the Iguana starring Felicia Rashad, and Dylan McDermott with Austin Pendleton. And not the best Zoom I've seen, but at least it was Night of the Iguana. It's interesting though, I did the same thing with my son when I was an actress. He read everything. He also appeared with me in 2 shows in summer stock. He played the little boy in Name,
My
Great.
mother directed 2 absurdist one-act plays, 2 or 3. One was
in Oyster Bay.
Yeah, one was A Slight Ache, and
Harold Pinter.
Harold Pinter with the wasp and the jam, and the other one was an Ionesco play.
Rhinoceros or the chairs? It was either rhinoceros or the chairs.
Well,
No.
this is a full-length play.
Yeah, so one act might be
It was
short.
the-
He said,
been
well,
called
then it was
Soprano.
rhinoceros.
Yeah.
He said UNESCO.
It could have been the
So,
Bolt
so
Soprano.
anyway, but I was again about 13, so she had me stage manage the production. which was-
Wow.
that was
Wow.
Experience.
Okay,
Sounds great.
I have to try to top you. I was part of a group called the Riverside Shakespeare Company. Every Sunday we would go to somebody's house, have brunch, and read a play. And my son would read all the pages, all the messengers. He was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old and a very good reader. And so anybody who was young and had 2 lines, he got to play all the parts. He said, in retrospect, he learned Shakespeare that way. He heard every single play over the space of a year. So that's my,
That's
which
great.
is something that all actors should do. All actors should somehow perform in, even if it's only readings, all of Shakespeare's plays.
Yeah.
That's my final word. I hope your mom is alive and well.
No, she actually passed away this past January. She was
Right.
almost
I'm sorry.
almost 94, so she had a long life,
Good.
Oh,
and
good.
it was not unexpected. So, but yeah, I mean, her thing was the love of theater, and kind of got that imbued in me,
Mhm.
and to the point where, like in my senior year of high school, I co-wrote and co-directed the Senior Follies, and stuff like this. That was fun. And my co-writer actually became a professional comedy writer.
Oh.
He loved the experience so much. Gary Apple.
Oh.
So
Oh, sure. I know Gary Apple.
yeah, he had a play off Broadway recently.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, he
uh,
did. And I
Christmas in-
interviewed. And I interviewed him. That's how I knew it.
Yeah, it was called Christmas in
Hell
Hell.
yeah.
What was the play he
Wow.
had off Broadway recently?
I think it's called Christmas in Hell. Not too
You
long ago.
remember Christmas in
something-
Hell? It was at the West
At
Side
the
Theater.
Vortex?
I
It was
think
at
that
the
was.
West Side, I
Did
thought.
the Vortex Theater Company do it?
I can't remember offhand. I'd have to look it up.
I remember.
But got
What?
some very good.
That
students.
title sounds familiar.
It was totally sacrilegious and rather funny, actually.
Oh,
The
he's a
second
very.
act takes place in hell, and
Well,
was
It fits when in our senior year of high school, we had a new principal that was doing all these new things, and it was a young, energetic guy named Barry Gleim. And so when we wrote the Senior Follies, the first act followed the New Testament completely. And we cast Gleim as the Messiah.
Oh,
And at one point he delivers the Sermon on the Mount. My favorite line, what I wrote, was, "Blessed are the sophomores, for they shall inherit the school."
ah,
But Gary loved the experience so much that he ended up co-writing a pretty famous episode of The Simpsons, where
Oh.
Homer gets a heart attack, or has a heart attack.
Oh wow! I mean, I'm also checking. By the way, it was the York Theater that apparently did Christmas in Hell.
oh,
The
okay.
York put it together, and they did it. But anyway, wow. I mean, it's just I'm just gonna sit back and let you guys talk for
Yeah.
an hour because this has been delightful. And I'm really serious also though. Stacy, please do come back and visit us, and I think that would be wonderful. So, hey, everybody, all of you guys.
Did you get to mention where you can see David's work?
I think I did, but I'll mention
Yeah,
it again.
Theater Life, Cultural Weekly, and the David Desk. And by the way, in the next month or so, soon, my editor tells me that the Cultural Weekly is going to become Cultural Daily. So that's
Yeah.
good news.
Woo! Is it going to be is it going to be like a broadsheet or just or online or what?
It's a web. It's a website. It's
So you're going to have to quit your teaching job, huh?
no. I'm not the only person writing for it.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Well, if they need more writers, I'm available, David. So
Okay.
just throw my name up there.
Okay.
Just say.
I, on the other hand, am not setting foot in a theater for the next year at least. So I'm not available to do anything that involves reviewing unless it's streaming. Nope, I can't see myself putting my butt on a seat that hasn't been absolutely sterilized.
Well, what about
Did you ever
well,
see the
That's why you're
shit
not.
that comes? What? Go ahead.
Never mind. I was going to make a joke about, that
I mean,
explains
sure.
why you never accept my invitations to my house.
I thought you were going to say that's why I did. That's what I said last night. But it's interesting because they did a thing about what's in when you get that Stanley steamer thing to clean your couch and your floor and whatnot. They showed what's in the seat cushions of a couch in a hotel room, which gets far less traffic than the average theater seat. Let's face it. far less traffic on a day-to-day basis. And the buckets of gunk that come out, if you give me a plastic, and she did that. Daryl put plastic seats in that, right? In your little pod, they were plastic seats because they could be cleaned, right?
They're
There were no.
from what they were plastic seats. Yes, they're
The
not. Like,
idea is glass, plastic, and whatnot. Even though it can be cleaned, you can put one of those 99% Lysol solutions on, and it will kill germs. You cannot do that with a plush seat. I'm sorry, we're way off topic.
It's not plush, no.
Right. But Leslie, you've been sitting on these horrible old theater
And
seats
I've been sick every year. Has anybody in this room had a cold in the last year? I haven't had a cold. This is I put on my air conditioner and I started to sniffle. It's a dust thing. I haven't had a cold. I haven't had the flu. I really haven't had the sniffles. As I say, this is just a seasonal thing because I haven't hugged anybody or kissed anybody, unfortunately, or sat on anybody's lap or any of that shit. And we're a huggy crowd. We meet in the theater and we hug.
Well, I know as soon as I go back, Leslie, as soon as I go back to the theater, my gonorrhea is going to reappear. It's going to be horrible.
Yeah, I haven't been with Max
Joyce,
in like a
put
year.
him on a leash. Just put him on a leash, Joyce.
Anyway, guys, it has been wonderful. And Stacey, you've been such a great sport, by the way.
Thank you.
But
sure.
Thank you so much. I hope you had the great time that you said you did. You guys, I hope I'll see you next week to play the Today-Yesterday game again. It just remains for me to thank you, and not to be rude, but what I've got to do is remove each of you from the thing. But thank you all so much for being with us in the neighborhood.